Milford School Committee Chairman Scott Harrison wants to know exactly how much it's costing the system to educate illegal immigrant students and those that don't have English as their first language. 30 or so new pupils registered in Milford over the summer, coming in from refugee camps in Texas to live with relatives in town. Most of them don't have parents with them. Many know little, if any, English, and have had very little formal education, so teachers are starting from scratch to educate them. Harrison, Superintendent Dr. Bob Trumley, and his assistant Dr. Kevin McIntyre said it's a major concern.
Historically, what has been the biggest impact for us is special education and English language learning. Those are the two biggest unfunded mandate impacts on the town of Milford and have been over time.
I would say the population of students with limited or interrupted English education
is a growing one.
Is the biggest growing issue for us, hands down.
It's a relatively new challenge in terms of the number of students. In the past you'd have a few students, and now we're seeing larger numbers of students that present learning challenges because they've had an interruption to their education.
Yeah. And it's a funding issue. It's and just getting the demographics of what the needs are too. So our teachers do a phenomenal job. We've got to support them with the needs in these mandates. So I think getting that, understanding what the impact is for the budget, so that we can start to put those things in place. And you're right, working with our legislature, and I'm confident I'm hopeful that they will be as receptive and vocal as we need them to be. Yeah. In how do we sort of understand where they're coming from, and A, fund them, and B, if there's any control over of how do we sort of limit the flow here, so we're not are we bearing a disproportionate burden from other towns and municipalities in the state.
Representative John Fernandez and Senator Richard Moore have been in touch with state and federal officials since the summer about this issue.
This whole thing isn't brand new. We're not creating the wheel here. This unaccompanied children thing has been growing over the last several years. 3 or 4 years ago, it was 12,000 kids. A couple of years ago, it was 25. Last year, it was around 30. This year, they were already pushing 60. And so my questions were related to, you've been doing this. You've been doing this in California. You've been doing it other places. What's the impacts? What have you seen? How many of these children get released into the community where the facility is located? Is it a higher percentage there because of the reality that people know it's there? Because if that's the case, we would see a higher percentage in some locations. That wasn't shown to be true.
So Fernandez met with Superintendent at Trumley and Health Agent Paul Mazzucchelli at Paul's request to discuss possible ways to address residency proof and possible additional state aid. Now, Senator Moore told us yesterday he's been working at the federal level to seek assistance to ease the burden on local resources, telling WMRC Milford's experience underscores the urgency and importance of getting the federal government to secure the borders and provide aid until refugees are returned to their homeland or their status is clarified. And he added it's not fair to local taxpayers or educators to expect them to absorb the financial burden and extra workload. Representative Ryan Fatman and Senator Moore join us tomorrow morning to discuss this child-to-student immigration issue. Fatman at 7:40, the senator at about 7:45.